Okay, so we're going to be starting on chapter 4. I'm sort of going to be powering through this and not doing as much explanation of everything that I'm doing as you're used to, just because I want to go through the whole chapter and make sure you see how to complete chapter 4. So the first thing we're going to do, which we always do, is to come up here and click on Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials. Then we come over to the current tool, right-click, Reset All Tools. Okay, good. Now that basically took us through page number 215. We're now on page number 216. I may not always be saying what page number I'm on because sometimes I'll forget to do that. So now I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to come up here to File, New. I could have also pressed Control N. It would have done the same thing. And I'm waiting. Okay, you're going to name this Jazz Poster. Video 2 because I made some changes. Okay, so mine is already set to 24 by 36 because frankly this is the last thing I used. Yours might not be. Yours might be like 8.5 by 11 and that wouldn't be too unlikely. So what you're going to need to do is right in here you'll change that to 24. Make sure that this says inches right here by 36. Okay, right here in resolution, the number of dots in each inch, you're going to set that to 150. Make sure you're in CMYK color. There are various types of color, but most printers work in CMYK color, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, 8-bit. And so now I'm going to come over here and we're going to leave this set to transparent and I'm going to click on OK. Yes. These dots here simply mean that this is a transparent area, that there's nothing there. Okay, I'm going to go Control 0 to fill back the full screen. If you do not see the rulers around the edges of your page, you need to press Control R as in Romeo. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is use the gradient fill. And that's right here. It looks kind of like a rectangle that fades away. It might look like a paint bucket on yours. You'll need to right-click on that and make sure that you select gradient fill. Okay? So we're now on page number 220, and we just finished page 220. We're now on page number 221. And I want you to go ahead and select the third one here, 1, 2, 3. And this is reflected gradient. And if I float just right, there we go, reflected gradient. Now I'm going to click in this box right here, and that's going to open our gradient editor tool. And there's a couple of things we want when we're here. Okay, we want to come over here and click on the box that has a diagonal blue, yellow, blue. Okay, and so let's see here. What page was that on? That was on page number 222. We're now on page number 223. Down here, the stops, this is where the actual color blue starts. The rest of it, it's fading over. So I want to click right here on this stop right here, and I want to change that to 25. Good. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Instead of sliding it carefully, I could have also typed in 75 there, and it would have done the exact same thing. So you can either type 25 in here, or you can slide it over, same here, 75. Okay, we are done on that page. We're now going to go ahead, make sure everything here looks right. It does. And click on OK. Now I'm going to carefully move my cursor to the top left corner, and you can see where I'm at right here. Now I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down, and I messed that up, so I'm just going to undo Control Z. I'll tell you why I said I messed it up. I wasn't right on that, right off that corner. Okay, so now I'm going to press and hold, and you see that my line is going through both of those corners. Now I'm going to release the left mouse button, and there we go. So at this point, we've created a layer over here. I'm going to double click on the name layer 1 and type in gradient layer. And I'm going to go ahead. Now I'll just click somewhere else to make that set. And then right click on that, and I'm going to make that blue. Okay. And that was on page number 225. I'm turning the page. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is use the place command. And what this does is it puts what's called a smart object in the image. The smart object can be resized without losing its definition and detail. So So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and minimize that for a moment. Come over here to our images, chapter 4. Good. And I'm going to go to saxophone.psd. And I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to download saxophone.psd. Okay, now I'm going to click on that upward pointed arrow, show in folder. I want to know where it is. And I can see right here that it's in my downloads folder. Now I know where saxophone.psd went. So let's go back to Photoshop. So next, and let's see here, we are on, we're on page number 227 at the moment. I'm going to click on File, and I'm going to come down here to Place. Okay, I'm going to place the smart object there. I need to go to this PC. Going to come over here to my Downloads folder, and I'm going to find saxophone.psd, and it's right here. And I'm going to click on Place. Good. Now, I'm turning the page again. I'm now on page number 228. The next thing I'm going to do is resize the saxophone to 67% in both height and width. Okay, so I could click on the chain right there, and that's going to bind the two. So when I make the change and I type in 67, come on, yep, 67, it's going to do both of them at once. Now, if you didn't click on that chain there to bind them, you would just need to make sure you type 67 into the other box too. Now, you note when I move my cursor over the saxophone, it turns to that black dart. And so now I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down, and I'm going to drag the saxophone over to right about there. That's good enough. Okay, once I've got it where I want it, actually, I think I'm going to move it over a little bit. Come on. Come on, move. Once I've got it where I want it, I'm going to click on the check mark. Your check mark may be closer to here. Mine's way over here on the side. Okay, and that committed the change. And now I have a new layer called saxophone. Great. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, and that's what part of what this chapter was about, is painting with brushes. Because after all, the name of the chapter is drawing and painting with color. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hide the saxophone layer. Okay. As you know, the saxophone is still there. I just have it hidden. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the gradient layer. You can tell which layer is active because it's the bluish gray instead of the brownish gray. And I'm going to go ahead and press Control-Shift-N to create a new layer. And I'm going to name this layer Border. And I will make the color yellow. And okay. Good. Now you can see I'm on the border layer. The next tool we're going to use is going to be the brush tool. Okay, pressing the letter B will also get you to the brush tool. I'm going to purposely press the letter B, and you saw that opened the brush tool. I'm going to right click on it and make sure that I'm actually using the brush tool and not one of the other weird tools that's under it, and I am. Okay, and here is our brush option bar. We're not going to spend a lot of time in these. I just want to remind you that opacity is the opposite of transparent. Something that is 100% opaque is 0% transparent. Something that is 0% transparent is 100% opaque. This one and this one primarily have to do with using touchpads, or that's basically the pressure pads. That's where the ones that are sort of like you use a pin that's not a pin and a touchpad and work that way. We're not using those. The airbrush, to be honest, we don't really use that in this class much. Where we are going to go is this tool right here. Looks like a square, some things sticking out of it. Notice when I clicked on that, it opened it over here also. So from this point on, I can just use the vertical dock to access these tools. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn the page a bit again. And let's here display the brushes panel. I've already got the brushes panel displayed. I am on page number 236. And I'm going to close Shape Dynamics, and I'm going to turn on Wet Edges and Smoothing. And if you're curious what those are actually doing, they summarize those on page number 235. Now, I'm going to go looking for, give me a second to find it, Sample Tip 21. I will tell you it's going to look like a splatter, like these little splatters here, okay? and I'm looking for sampled tip 21. Should be about 3/4 the way down. I don't think that's it. No, that's not it. How about that one? Yep, sampled tip 21. And you see the boxes around it and 21. Great. So I've now found sampled tip number 21. And I'm going to resize the size here to 350 pixels. I could do this and try to be super careful, or I can just do this, 350. Good. And I'm going to do the same thing with spacing. I'm going to change that from 5 to 20. And it kind of looks like a little zipper, okay? And somewhere along the way here, I did not choose the color. Okay, and that's not exactly a huge problem. We go ahead and close that. I'm going to click on swatches, okay? And the color we want is going to be, so somewhere I got out of order in the book, is going to be the CMYK yellow right here, okay? So you're going to take that, when I click, I've still got the brushes tool active. And so I came over here and I moved the eyedropper over the CMYK yellow and I clicked. And now you'll notice that this here changed to yellow, okay? Now, what I'm going to do, notice I'm on the brush tool right now. I'm going to move this up to this corner right here. So basically it's in this direction. It's mostly on the document. Now I'm going to press and hold the shift key down. Now I'm going to press the left mouse button down. Now, as you're doing this, don't worry too much about a perfect straight line because you notice I didn't make one. Holding the shift key is forcing it to go straight. Release the mouse button, release the shift key. Now I'm down here at the bottom and you see where I'm at, right? And so now I'm again going to hold the shift key down, press and hold the left mouse button down and go across. Release the mouse button, release the shift key. At this point, we have that border that kind of looks sort of like a zipper. And so we have finished creating our border, and it really was that easy. So where are we next? Okay, we're going to go ahead, and the next thing we're going to do is create some other things here. We're on page number 238. I'm going to click on the saxophone layer, okay? And so what I want to do with the saxophone layer here is I, again, want to create a new layer. Control-Shift-N. And I'm going to name this layer Stars. And the color I'll make is green. Why green? Because they say green in the book. Okay, and I'm going to click on OK. It wasn't really as important which color you used. Okay, now what I need to do is use the brush presets. So I'm again going to open the brush panel. Now, this one is where it gets kind of weird. If your brush presets are over in here, you'll use the one over here, but mine isn't, okay? Mine's over. So what I'm doing is I'm going to, you see where I got a triangle pointed down and a little stack. I'm going to click on that and new brushes. Wrong, cancel. Okay, you don't want to do it. Okay, where are you? Oh, okay, that was a moment of dumb on my part. Brush presets. Okay, now I found brush presets. Now when I come over here and I click on this, now you see this here. The one I want you to go to is the one called Assorted Brushes, okay? And if you're not clear where I clicked, the first thing I did was click on brush presets. Then I came over here and I clicked on the downward pointed arrow and the stack. And then I went to Assorted Brushes. And I'm just going to go and click on Append. Append is a fancy word for add to. Now I'm going to scroll down, and the one I'm looking for is number 19 stars. Big star, okay? So I'm just sort of scrolling down, continuing to scroll down. You'll probably see it before I do. Okay, number 19 star. Should be right there. Okay, so on mine, it's about 1/3 of the way down. I'm going to click on that. You see where I clicked on that one there. And now I'm going to go back and click on brush again. Okay. And you can see that number 19 star is now selected. Great. And so let's see here. We are now back on page number 240. Okay. Just to let you know where we're at. We're changing the size here this time to 200. 200. And we're changing the spacing here to 150. And again, you could have dragged the slider like it says in the book. I tend to not do that as much. Okay, we want to make sure that our stars are white. Okay, so we can just come over here and click on Switch Foreground Background, and we now have white on top. Otherwise, Otherwise, we could have come over here and selected white. Both of those are going to do the exact same thing. It's going to put white over on top over here. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this panel by clicking here. Now this part's a little bit freehand. So what you're going to do is move the star kind of into the horn here and sort of press the left mouse button and sort of do that. Okay. And I'm going to do one more. Now, if I said, oh, that was awful, don't forget I can press Control-Z to undo, okay? Or I can go to the History tool here, which is 3 boxes and arrow, and just slowly work my way up one at a time, okay? And so if I needed to redo it, I could do that. I don't like that bottom one, Control-Z. What you're looking for, it should look a lot like what you see on page number 242. So that's the one that's wrong. So I'm going to go up, get rid of that, fix that one. No, Control-Z, didn't like it. And good. Okay. I sort of like that. It looks like what I want. I'll close the history tool here. Let's go ahead and save. You're going to press Control S on your keyboard, assuming you already saved. Control S. Okay, we haven't saved. So now we have the menu here and where I want to save and where I want you to save. And it is important because very simply, I've had to go to various students and find their files for them. And if you don't put it where I say to put it, I can't find it either. Okay, this PC, pictures. And then maybe you could make, using this one with a star here, create a new folder, a folder that's called Photoshop, or you could probably just drop it in the pictures because the reality is you don't have a lot of pictures there. Okay, Jazz Poster, video 2, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. And when I click on Save, this box typically comes up. You can click on Don't Show Again. I leave it on so that I can show students that this box shows up. So now just click on OK there. Good. So we've now finished all the way through page 242. And this is replacing the last video because this is where I stopped. And on this one, I want to just keep on going. Okay. And I do need to stop and do something else here for just a moment. Okay, I'm back. You probably didn't even notice I was gone. Okay, at this point, we are on page number 243. And we're going to be putting in some horizontal guides. You might remember that from chapter 2 when we made some guides for the baskets to snap to. So make sure your rulers are here. Again, if your rulers are not here, I want you to go ahead and press Control R, as in Control Romeo. Now, I'm going to go ahead and select the Move tool just so that I'm no longer on something destructive. And so you notice when I move my cursor up here, it turns into a white arrow. Now, before you do anything else, there's something else you need to find. The 15 mark, okay, the 10 mark, 5.5. Keep in mind, it's not between 5.5 is not dead between 5 and 10. It's dead between 5 and 6. Now, some of you, your rulers count by 2s. Doesn't change it. You still need to find the same thing. So if it's counting by 2s, rather obviously, 15 is going to be between 14 and 16, okay, and so on. And so we're also going to find our 3-inch mark. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to find our 1-inch mark. 1. Now that we found all of those marks, notice this line moving inside of the ruler. That's what we're going to line up. Okay, now, having said all of that, I'm going to move my cursor into the ruler. You see it turns to a white arrow. It is a white arrow. I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down. I'm going to pull that guide down until that line is on the 15. You notice there's also where it says Y, colon, and so I'm pretty close to 15. You're probably not going to get it dead on, but, you know, if you're less than a tenth off. Okay, so now I'm back up here. Press and hold. Come down here to the 10 mark. Up a tiny bit. Okay, and release. So if it says, you know, the number 0.0, you're probably pretty close. Okay, the next one's going to be at the 5.5 mark. press and hold, pull down to right about here, 5.5, and that's probably as close as I'm going to get it, 5.5. The 3-inch mark, press and hold down to 3, release, and the 1-inch mark. Good. Okay, so we have our guides there. Remember, the guides do not print, so don't be bothered by them. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn the page, and I'm now on page number 244, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the horizontal type tool. Remember, that's the big T right here. I'm going to right click on it to make sure I'm choosing the correct tool, horizontal type tool. And if you remember up here, this here is our font family, the kind of font. And the font we want is Myriad Pro. Mine's already set to it, but I'm just going to tell you that these are in alphabetical order, okay? And unless you have a good reason not to, when you're doing something in Photoshop, choose the ones that have the O next to them. That indicates that they are a native Photoshop type, and they simply will work better. Okay, just letting you know. Okay, the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to change the font size. I'm just looking at this right here. Select Myriad Pro, set font size to 175, which is pretty big. But don't forget, this is a pretty big document. I mean, yeah, it's like 36 inches tall. It's more, so that's a pretty tall piece of paper. So let's go to the next one, 175, anti-aliasing. Make sure that says sharp. We're going to center align. And again, if we needed to, we could change the color of our text right here with this. We don't need to, so we're not going to. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to right about that line there. You see where I'm at a little bit more, and I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down, and I'm going to draw a nice big bounding box right there. Those dotted boxes, remember, we called bounding boxes. Good. Release. And now I'm just going to go ahead and type in. The stars come out. In the bounding. What's going on here? What's going on? Okay, maybe it's not tall enough. Maybe I need to make this bounding box a little bit taller. Oh, wait a minute. Somehow I bumped this. I must have bumped this. So, okay, I'm going to just tell you, I'm going to delete this whole layer. Delete. Right-click on the layer. Delete layer. Yes. All I can say is somewhere I must have bumped something, okay, because that's supposed to be 175. 175. Okay, I'm just going to click up here to set it. Come on. So as you saw, I just randomly clicked on something to make it take because it hadn't taken. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to draw a new bounding box. Good. Now I see that blinking cursor in there, okay? So okay. I actually had this happen to me when I was doing this in a class, that my bounding box is just a little bit too narrow. So, come on. So, see how that, I'm going to drag that out a tiny bit. Drag that out a tiny bit. There we go. So, what happened? My bounding box was a little bit too narrow, and so it was cutting off that last word, if you're wondering what was actually going on there. And that happened to me in the last class, too. So, we've got that done. We want to commit this change. I'll click on the check mark, and now you see that you have the stars come out layer. I'm going to go ahead and right click on that, and I'm going to go ahead and choose orange. Why did I choose orange? Because the book wants orange. Okay, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to, again, come up here. I'm going to draw one more bounding box right underneath. Notice I'm trying to go down as little as I have to. And so see that cursor down just a little bit, and there it is. Now I can draw another bounding box. Okay. Now let's see. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and confirm. Right click on that, orange, and I need to move this a little bit over. It doesn't look like it's quite where the book has it, and I did that I was thinking of that as I did this to remind you. I'm on the layer. Just come over here, click on the move tool, and now I can just move that layer just a little bit to the side so that it looks like it's where it is in the book. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and select the horizontal type tool once more. This time, I'm going to change it to 110. Okay, and I'm going to draw a bounding box down here in this corner right here. If you're not sure where I'm at, I'm on page number 245. So I'm just going to draw a nice big bounding box right here. And in that bounding box, I'm going to go ahead and type in Fridays. I just want to make sure that this is still the same font. Yeah, they want the same font. Okay. And, okay, so I need to make this a little bit wider because that and needs to be on the same line. Okay. Fridays and, good. Enter. Saturdays. Enter. And let's see, 8 p.m. So 8, shift colon, 00 p.m. Okay, fundamentally, that is what they want. The only thing that I notice here is for some reason the font size went back to 75. Not an issue, so I selected it, and I'll again type in, because that layer is still active over here. You see that layer is active right here. And so that's my current layer, so I can just go ahead and modify it, 110. And I'm going to just click on something. It doesn't matter to me what I click on. I just want it to cease to be white. Okay, so I click on that. It's good enough. And now it's back to 175. Okay, select everything. Duh. Now, 110. And then I hit enter. Okay, now you can see it's a lot smaller. That looks more like it was supposed to look. And then come over here, fit that side there. And I'm going to select the move tool, move it kind of to where it's supposed to be, which is sort of there. And come over here, and they probably want that to be orange too. You know what? They didn't actually tell me what color to make it, so I'm fine. Okay. Make it orange, sure. Okay. Not relevant because by now you know that doesn't show most of the time. Okay, the next thing we're going to do here is create a character style. Actually, the next thing I'm going to do is save. Control S. Good. Okay. Now, and that changed. So we're going to go to the layer, horizontal type tool. Good. And that should have been 175 also. 175. And again, I'm going to hit enter, and now that's what it should be. Good. Okay. And I just happened to see that somehow I'd accidentally resized that. And so you saw how to resize it. You selected it. Okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and open the character style menu. Probably the easiest way to open the character style menu is to click on the window tool here and come down to character styles. Now note that created a new tool over here in the vertical dock. Okay. And the one we want looks like a big letter A, just to let you know where we're at. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're on the layer. That's probably good enough. Yeah, that's going to be fine. We're on the layer. It really doesn't matter because I'm going to show you what we're going to have to do to fix it in a moment anyways. And we're going to go ahead and create a new style, and that's this one right here. And so with that done, I'm now going to double click on character style 1. And it opened a new tool here. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to name this Jazz. J-A-Z-Z. And if you're wondering where I'm at, I am now on page number 248. Okay. So for my font family, I want Lucidia handwriting. Again, this is an alphabetical order. G-A-J-K-L-L, Lucidia handwriting. Good. Lucidia handwriting. I want the font size, and that's the big T, little t over here, to be at 300. Okay. And let's see here. Case. I want all caps. Okay. Position normal. I want faux bold and faux italic. Faux is a fancy word for false, just as a comment. And now I'm going to click. It's not right. It's just French for false. And now and it is pronounced faux. That X is silent. Now I'm going to, you notice the color has a question mark indicating that it has no idea what color you want. I clicked on that. I got a lot of stuff open. That's why mine keeps slowing down. On the top left-hand corner of all of these, white will be at the top left-hand corner on all of these. Okay, so now I selected white. I'm going to go over here and a little bit closer to there because I notice I have a little tint of red there. And I'd really rather not a little tint of red. If anything, because of the picture here, I would want a little tint of blue, okay? But now I'm going to go ahead and click on that white up there. And if anything, I don't really see any tint at this point, just to tell you. But if there were, it would be blue. Okay, now I'm going to click on OK. And so now I've created a new character style. So now again, I'm going to click on OK. Good. Now, it messed up the at the, and you see that, right? Not a problem. I'm still on the at the layer. I'm just going to go ahead and click on none for apply no character style. Okay. And it pretty much is that easy. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to come over here again to my horizontal type tool, and I'm going to go ahead, and this time I'm going to draw a big bounding box. I'm going to start on this line right here, and I'm going to draw that big bounding box right over there. Okay. And I'm going to click on Jazz. Okay. Now, I do note that for whatever reason, it didn't go to 300. I've seen that many times, just to tell you, that it doesn't seem to pop to 300. And see, we want to be left aligned on this one, just to tell you, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type J space ZZ. Now I do want to bump this a little bit over to the right. That's fine. So I'm going to first commit to this. Like I've done before, I'm going to use the move tool. I'm just going to bump. Basically, I want it. Let's see here. I want it right about there. There we go. Good. And if you look at the picture, you'll see where that is. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and create another bounding box. So I'm going to come over here again and click on the horizontal type tool. And I will start right about here. Create that bounding box. And again, C, space, and something went wrong. What went wrong is, for whatever reason, it used a different color up there. So I'm going to basically undo, Control Z. Good. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to choose that white again. Why it did that? Okay, well, actually, I'm just going to click on this. Okay, so I clicked on the white over here. It isn't super important how you do it, okay? Just so long as you have white in that box right there. Okay. C, space, FE. Okay. So at this point, we have Jazz Cafe. We're going to commit to that edit by clicking on this right here. So now we've committed to that edit. Sure, because these are all text, we can go ahead and make them all orange. The main thing you're doing with the colors here, and I mentioned this to you in Computer 1, is that types of things should have a similar tab so that it makes it very easy to see what is what. Okay, create a layer style. Okay, so I'm just looking to see where we're at right now. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is apply a stroke to which one? We're going to go to the Stars Come Out layer. Those of you wondering where I'm at, I'm on page number 251. I'm at the Stars Come Out layer, okay? Come down here and click on an Add Layer Style. Click on Stroke. Okay, so we're going to make sure that stroke is black, and we're going to change the stroke size to 10. And okay. Great. Okay, and you can now see kind of an outline around the Stars Come Out layer. I'm turning the page. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is copy this style. So I'm just going to right-click on the Stars Come Out layer, and I'm going to find Copy Layer Style, and click. Now I'm going to go to the next text layer here, right-click on that, Paste Layer Style. Next, Paste Layer Style. Next, Paste Layer Style. Remember, I'm right-clicking. If you're not sure what I'm doing, I'm right-clicking. Okay, so at this point, we've applied a layer style to all of the text, and we see that nice little stroke around the text. So again, we're going to go ahead and use the eyedropper tool because we want to change this color down here now to the blue. So I'm going to start by hitting D for default colors, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and select the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to sample. I want to sample up here where I've got a nice strong blue. So I'm going to go right about there, and I'm going to click. Now you notice now that the blue right here, or the black right here, turned to blue. Okay, so that's using the eyedropper tool. The eyedropper samples from colors within your document. The next thing we're going to use is the shapes tool. So I'm turning the page again. I'm on page number 258. And what I want to use here is the custom shape tool. So I came down here to shapes, just above the hand, and I clicked on the custom shape tool. Now, I've already got the 8th note here. If you don't have that 8th note over here, okay, you're going to come over here and click on this, and you're going to go ahead and find music and click on music, and you're going to click on append or add to. Now, I've already got that 8th note here, so I'm going to find the 8th note. When I float over it, you see it even says 8th note, and I'm going to click on the 8th note. Okay, we're not quite done. Turning the page. We are now on page number 260. I've selected the 8th note, and now I'm going to come over here to the stroke tool, and I want to go ahead and use which gradient stroke? I want to use this here, the gradient fill. I want this one. So I use this gradient fill right here. Then I came to here and chose black and white. Okay. Now I can go ahead and just close this. Okay. So I clicked on that box again to close it. Now, the next step, don't release the mouse button until you're done. What I'm going to do, and I'm going to talk you through it as I do it, as usual. I'm going to press and hold the left mouse button down. I am holding the left mouse button down. You probably see on the screen a faint outline of an 8th note, but it's nowhere near where I want it, right? Now, I'm still holding the left mouse button down. I'm going to press the space bar. Now, with the space bar chosen, I'm going to move it, release the space bar. Maybe I want to adjust the shape a little bit more. Press space bar again, move it a tiny bit. Yeah, I like that. So now I'm going to release the space bar. I'm going to release the mouse button. And there we are. Great. And we have the shape right here. Okay. And it did not blend the way I wanted it to. And quite honestly, it didn't do something I wanted. Ah, I see why. So it didn't do what I wanted, and I see where I made my mistake. So again, I'm just going to undo that by clicking over here and get rid of that. Okay, so I clicked up with just one layer. This is the one I was on, the custom shape tool. I just want to go up one click. Now I'm still there. I'll tell you what I did wrong. I forgot to put 20 in here. 20. Good. Now, and then hit enter. Now it's going to do what I wanted. So again, just press and hold, left mouse button down, space bar, move that to where I want it. I kind of like that right there. Release the mouse button. Now it looks right, just to tell you. Now I'm going to come over here to shape note 1. It just appeared. I can change that to say 8th note. Nope, I guess. I think I spelled it wrong. Let me look here. Book.
Aaron Alonso, if you are in the building, please come to the office.
8th note. Where is that?
If you are in the building, please come to the
Now I'm
office.
feeling kind of foolish. E-I-G-H-T-H. E-I-G-H-T-H. Okay, it just looks wrong. But it's right, so enter. It just looked wrong. Okay, now, instead of making another one, I want the other one to be exactly the same. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click on this, and I'm going to duplicate layer. 8th note copy is good enough. Okay. Now, you're saying, well, where is it? It's right on top of this one. So I'm going to go to the move tool, and I'm going to move that copy to right here. Okay. Guess what? You're done. So let's go ahead and save. Control S. And now that we've saved, I'll close that. So we saved. Now I want to do something else. I want to go ahead and File, Save As. Okay, spacebar, resized. Save. Yes. Now we're going to resize this so you can turn it in. image, image size. So make sure that the chain here, if this link is not here, go back and click on constrain proportions right here, okay? Because we want to make the width 6 inches. And that automatically changed the height proportionally for us. And okay. Control 0. And you can see that that looks a little bit less defined. Certainly the way the letters have come out look a little bit different, but you notice the saxophone looks almost exactly the same. That's because we used place, and so we put this in as a smart object. So as we resize, it doesn't actually lose definition. If you want to get rid of these lines, you can. To get rid of the lines, I'm just going to go to View, Show, View Show, come on, View Show, and Guides. Now, with that said, we need to save once more, but we're going to save it differently. Now you're going to File, Save As, yet again. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to change that JPG, and we're going to come down here where it says Photoshop, and we're going to choose that first JPEG option. Now, if you look closely, it's actually the only JPEG option, because this one JPEG, and then we've got .jpg. None of these others have .jpg in them. So we want that first JPEG option. And we're going to click on Save. Then when this here comes up, we want to use maximum quality. Yes. Okay. And now it's saved it as a JPEG. So now you're ready to go to Canvas and turn this in Canvas. Okay, and